Good morning and welcome everyone to our virtual principal coffee. Dave and I were really hoping to have it in person, but with the current state, we shifted to virtual. So today's coffee is really a follow-up from the November coffee where we spoke, and Tim was at that coffee with us. We spoke about our curriculum. Today, what we wanted to do is talk to you about the report cards. And we have I think Dr. Lamy is here, Dr. Kaltenecker. I don't know if Gina Cunningham is here, but welcome everyone. And Dave, of course, is with us. So the reason we wanted to do this principal coffee on the report cards is because we are in our second year of COVID, we are very carefully aligning our report cards to the essential content that we've identified in our curriculum so that we can make the most of learning for every single child during this pandemic. Important dates for you to know is the report cards will be live on the portal after 3 o'clock on February 4th and on June 24th after 12. A couple of years ago, we had revised how we give out the report cards. We use the portal, but we also realigned our parent conferences so that we could ensure we have touch points with you throughout the school year on your child's performance. Hence why we have the parent conference in the middle of the first semester in the fall. Then we have the report card at the beginning of winter. You'll have another parent conference in March, and then you'll have another report card in June. It was purposely done that way so that every 10 to 11 weeks, there's a touch point with you to discuss your child and their growth and performance as they go through our elementary school. So let me just talk to you quickly about what our report cards do and what the intent is of our report cards. Our report cards really are aligned to the essential content that during the summer months our teachers have identified, and that essential content aligns to our next generation standards. The next generation standards have replaced the Common Core standards for any of you wondering about why we're calling them this. This is the new name of them, the next gen standards. Our report cards really identify the clear expectations and outcomes that we want for every learner. Probably one thing that we value more than anything is positive behaviors that promote learning, so that by the time your child leaves 5th grade, these positive behaviors really are intrinsic to who they are as learners, so that they become more independent as they embark on the second half of their journey. You will see and hear in the report cards areas of strength. We like to focus on the areas of strength, but also areas for which to grow. And our teachers do a really great job of communicating that with your child. But in terms of you and seeing this information on the report card, that's what you can expect. Our goal this year, different than last year, is that we will have conducted our placement process in the spring so that you will know who your child's new teacher is going into September. However, with COVID, we know things are always subject to change. So if we can't do that, you will know ahead of time. But that is one of our goals also of the second report card in June, so that you know who your child's teacher is the following year. Most important on the report card really are the behaviors that promote learning. We want to see that our children are acquiring the skills that they need to really take hold of learning for themselves. Very important is, are they able to attend to learning tasks? If they're given a direction, can they follow that through so that they can complete that task independently? Is the child able to demonstrate self-control? And that's, a lot of that is happening all throughout the school day, whether they're in the structured setting of the classroom, learning core content, or they're in unstructured settings on the playground, in the lunchroom. All of that becomes part of a teacher evaluating a child's ability to demonstrate self-control. Does your child follow the rules, routines, and expectations set forth for them in the classroom on a daily basis, in the different subject areas? Do they follow directions? Do they follow directions not only when they are being watched, but also when they are not being watched? And of course, we want all of our children to understand how to follow directions so that we can trust them. And then when they get to 6th grade, they can walk to town because we understand they know how to follow directions and safely get themselves from point A to point B. A big thing that we focus on in these formative years is really the child's ability to organize themselves And within that organization, it's, the mental preparation, the visual organization, the physical organization, all of these things that really take shape and help a child develop their own organizational skills, again, so that they are prepared for the second half of their journey. We are trending always toward working independently. Our teachers are really gauging how a child transitions from dependence to independence in every setting, but then also cumulatively as they progress through each year. Seems simple, but we also want our children to work neatly and carefully in a space that works for them, knowing that every child's definition of careful and neat work is really independent to them and individualized for them. And then finally is really making sure that we are cultivating a child who really gets along well with others, can play with others, has a good sense of themselves and how they relate to their peers, whether they're their friends or just their classmates. Our academic focus really is on English, language, arts, and social studies, mathematics and science, and infusing those two together. You will also see on the report card that your child will be graded in the specials area of music, PE, and art. Same as last year, we decided that we wanted to add just a performance rating in the area of technology, knowing that our children really are using technology a lot in the state of COVID, but really we're using our technology through our digital skills curriculum, trying to ensure that our children understand how to be safe, how to be respectful, how to be responsible on technology, and that they know how to monitor their technology use. And then I think as a parent, the most important part of the report card really is the narrative. You get to see the snapshot of what your child looks like as a learner and also as a member of the community. And while that's the qualitative data on the report card, I often hear from parents that's the piece they enjoy the most. And you can string that story together year after year in terms of that narrative. And it helps you get a sense of who your child is in the classroom. I often say sometimes our children have two personalities, the personality at home and the personality in school. And I think it's nice for parents to see that narrative so that you can get a picture and a sense of what they look like in the classroom. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dave Mack, and he's going to update you on our code of conduct.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming today. We have quite a few participants here, so thank you. Just wanted to touch briefly on something that we're working on in the K-5 buildings with Coleman Hill and Wampus with Dr. Kaltenecker and Dr. Lamia. We're starting to, within our site-based team, look at our child-friendly code of conduct. It hasn't been updated in a few years, so one of the things we identified at our most recent site-based was, how do we start to look at this and maybe make some recommendations about how it could be updated? For example, if you read through it, it talks about MP3 players, right? Even simple things like that. How do we start to recommend some of those changes in language? Obviously still partnering, the essential partners is named in there about how we work with parents. And for anyone that's ever, spoken to me, if we've had to deal with the code of conduct, it's always a conversation where we want to hold children accountable, but most importantly, we want children to learn, right, from their experiences in school. That's part of, mistakes happen, right? I refer often to Vince Lombardi. He has a quote where he says, it's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get back up. And I think that's part of the learning process, especially at the younger ages. Mistakes happen. Frankly, I think mistakes are important for growth. But it's just one of those things we're going to look at when we really ground our children in being safe, responsible, and respectful. How do we start to really integrate that and update it into our child-friendly code of conduct that, again, we're going to work on with a site-based team, and then talk about recommendations that ultimately at some point would go to the board for them to look at. So that's the only update I wanted to give that we're going to be working on. And before we end, I wanted to see if Dr. Kaltenecker or Dr. Lamia wanted any final comments.
Sure. Tim, do you need anything first while we're still on curriculum?
Nope, I think I'm good, but welcome back, everyone, and look forward to seeing you sometime in person. Sorry we couldn't see you today.
All right, and just a few messages from the superintendent. I know that we had our vacation, and many vacations like mine were canceled, and some people were stranded in flights and everything else, but we really had great student attendance yesterday and staff attendance. we are doing our best to maintain our in-school instruction every single day. I know that there are a lot of questions from parents right now about what schools are doing. I did hear last night in my call that Tarrytown will be remote for the rest of the week, and Ossining will have remote instruction at the middle school and high school. We do not have any plans for that. We've been following our COVID cases. We gave out about 900 individual tests on Sunday to people in the community. We had 21 people who did not come to school who were positive from those tests. And we are doing our PCR testing. Kits are going out today and we're collecting them tomorrow. So just really doing our best to check on COVID cases and have our hands on those numbers. I've also been meeting weekly with the county executive, George Latimer, and all of the superintendents so that we are all aware of changes that are coming around for us. We've done a lot of work at the elementary. At Wampus, they really Wampus was our superstar for lunches. Thank you, Dave Mack. That kids have always been spaced over 6 feet and did not need to quarantine. We've done the same at Coleman Hill now. So we really should not have too many in-school quarantines anymore, but we will be adopting everything we can to get kids into school. I know that there was a rush for PCR tests when people came back from vacation. And from what I hear, that rush is already dissipating. So it is probably more likely that people can get a PCR test if they need to, if you think your child is positive. And I think just other than that, we are going to just be looking at the week and our staffing and make sure everything is still a go. But we know that the governor said all children should be in school. We have backup plans in the event that we find that we need to space children even farther apart. Your administrators at Wampus and Coleman Hill have been working on moving classrooms and moving kids 6 feet apart and doing something similar to what we had to do last year. That, of course, is a last result. We don't want that. And we want our kids in their classrooms and healthy and safe. There have been some questions about cloth masks. So I am going to send out some information. I know that they have not been recommended anymore. We are not banning cloth masks, but if you're sending your children to school, if you do have the disposable masks, that is a better option. And we are going to stock our schools with them as well, so that if your child prefers one when they come in, we should have those ready for them. Other than that, we had great attendance yesterday and again today so far from what I hear. It's nice to see your children in school and learning and in as normal of a life as we could provide for them and happy. So I know that that is a community effort. So I want to thank the parents for everything that you're doing to make sure your kids stay home if they're not feeling well and communicate with your building administrators and your nurses. So that's all I have. Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome back.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, everyone. And again, reach out to Dave or myself if you have any questions. And we wish you a wonderful New Year.